A system of law is one of the cornerstones of a stable and prosperous society. Throughout mankind's history, countless laws have been created in the hopes of bringing balance and justice to the land. But in the span of our existence, recorded laws are still relatively new. We've been a species for roughly 200,000 years, but we've only had a law-abiding one for roughly 4,500 of them. By looking at some of the earliest attempts at law and order, we can gather insight into both the development of different cultures and the progression of man as a civilized species. So in the video today, we're looking at 10 of the oldest known codes of laws from different regions and different cultures. Number 10. The Code of Urnammu, from Mesopotamia, circa 2380 to 2360 BC. To begin with, let's examine the oldest surviving recorded law system known to mankind, the Code of Urnammu. Ur-Nammu was the king of the ancient Mesopotamian city of Ur between 2111 and 2094 BC. His code was a series of laws that pioneered several vital legal concepts, such as requiring monetary compensation for physical injuries caused upon others. In addition, murder, robbery, adultery, and rape are defined as capital crimes punishable by execution, with mutilation being punishable with a fine, 10 skakels for cutting off a man's foot, for example. This system, though obviously not 100% like what we have today, was imperative to the development of law and order in ancient Mesopotamia, as well as all civilizations succeeding it. Number 9. The Code of Hammurabi, from Babylonia, circa 1786 BC. Perhaps the most infamous set of laws from antiquity, the Code of Hammurabi was established by the Babylonian ruler of the same name. The first ruler of the Babylonian Empire, Hammurabi's code helped spread law and order throughout Mesopotamia as he conquered city-state after city-state. The code comprehensively controlled and regulated every aspect of life in his kingdom, including civil law, ethics, business, trade, even family. Carved on an 8-foot-high black stone monument, the code was displayed so that all of his subjects would know what was expected of them. Though the code was notoriously severe, it did introduce two of the most important tenets of modern justice: the presumption of innocence and the opportunity for both sides of a conflict to present evidence. Additionally, unlike many modern justice systems, the code punished the upper classes much more severely than the lower. Number 8. The Code of the Nesilim, from the Hittite Empire, circa 1650 to 1500 BC. Established by the ancient Hittites of what is now modern-day Turkey, the Code of the Nesilim, the Hittite people's word for themselves, regulated several aspects of their rapidly expanding empire. One of its most significant topics concerned the treatment of slaves. When compared to how other societies treated slaves, the Code of Nesilim was surprisingly fair, allowing them to marry whoever they wanted, to buy property, to open businesses, and even to purchase their freedom. But most significantly, under the code, slaves were not treated as human chattel or property that could be used and abused by their masters however they saw fit. They had a limited number of rights that guaranteed them a certain level of dignity and protection. Number 7. 42 Negative Confessions. Egypt, circa 1250 BC. One of the oldest recorded systems of human morality was the ancient Egyptian concept of ma'at, evoking concepts of straightness, evenness, levelness, correctness, rightness, truth, justice, righteousness, and order. Ma'at was central in the development of ancient Egyptian religion and ethics. Ma'at extended to virtually every aspect of ancient Egyptian life, as well as death. According to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, a freshly departed soul would have to recite 42 negative confessions as part of their trial in the underworld. Some examples include, "I have not slain man or woman," and "I have not uttered evil words." If the soul had not fulfilled all of the 42 negative confessions, then the heart would be eaten by Ammit, the devourer, and their soul would be reincarnated on Earth for another life-death cycle. The 42 confessions were memorized by every Egyptian citizen, and therefore can be seen as a kind of institutionalized system of ma'at. As such, they can be interpreted as the first recorded laws in Egyptian society. Some scholars even claim that Moses, after years of being exposed to Egyptian culture, compressed the 42 negative confessions into the 10 Commandments. Number 6. Kang Gao, in China, from around the 11th century BC. As one of the oldest civilizations on Earth, it only stands to reason that China would have one of the longest recorded legal traditions. But despite the fact that the earliest surviving Chinese historical records date from the Xia dynasty from 2100 to 1600 BC, the earliest surviving legal document is from the Zhao dynasty. Known as the Kang Gao, it was basically a long letter from King Wu of Zhao to Prince Kangshu, who was set to rule a new fief. The Gao laid out the best rules and punishments for keeping Kangzu's subjects in line. The Kang Gao has indeed survived to this day, and it has become a vital influence on generations of lawmakers. Number 5. The Draconian Constitution, Greece, circa 7th century BC. Draco was an Athenian statesman who is believed to have formed the first written set of ancient Greek laws. Known for the cruelty of his laws, Draco's very name has become associated with unforgiving brutality. Of course, that's where the word draconian comes from. Plutarch described Draco's laws as such. For nearly all crimes, there was the same penalty of death. The man who was convicted of idleness or who stole a cabbage or an apple was liable to death, no less than the robber of temples or the murderer. Though the Draconian Constitution was a crucial part of the development of ancient Greek law, it was all, with the exception of the homicide law, repealed in the early 6th century BC by another Athenian statesman named Solon. Number 4. Torah Judaism, circa 600 to 400 BC. The word Torah has several different meanings, but in this case it refers to the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. This Torah has been one of the cornerstones of Jewish culture, faith, and identity for millennia. Jewish tradition states that the Torah existed before the creation of the world and was only written down after it was revealed to Moses by God. But trying to historically nail down the date when the Torah was first compiled and physically written down is very tricky. The Torah underwent many series of redactions over the centuries, but scholars think that the last major set of redactions occurred after 539 BC, when the Jews were freed from the Babylonian captivity by Cyrus the Great. Number 3. Dharmasutras, from India, circa 600 to 100 BC. The earliest extant legal codes in ancient India, the Dharmasutras, are a series of writings that address rights, ritual obligations, proper conduct, and the correct way to live one's life. The Dharmasutras would be one of the main sources for the law Code of Urnammu, a composition that would come to be known as one of the authoritative legal treatises of ancient India towards the middle of the first millennium. The 4 most important Dharmasutra texts are Apastamba, Gautama, Baudhayana, and Vasistha-sutras. Though they would be overshadowed by more modern legal treatises, the Dharmasutras are indispensably part of Indian legal tradition and history. Number 2. 12 Tables of Roman Law, from Rome, 451 BC. The 12 Tables of Roman Law are both the oldest surviving piece of Roman literature and their first attempt at composing a code of law. The 12 Tables of Roman Law demonstrated a notable Hellenic influence, but nevertheless remained almost purely Roman in character. They avoided specific details concerning cases, instead focusing on principles which should be emulated. However, there are exceptions, such as the rules for the observance of funeral ceremonies, the laws and obligations existing between neighbors, and the treatment to which the debtor might be subjected. The original 12 tables were set up for display at the Forum, but were destroyed when the Gauls sacked Rome in 390 BC. Number 1. Asuka Kiyomihara Code, from Japan, 668 AD or 689 AD. During the 7th century, Japan tried its hardest to mimic Chinese methods of thought, religion, and governance. Part of this manifested itself in the country's adoption of Buddhism and Chinese writing characters. But Japan also tried to replicate Chinese-style laws through the creation of the Ritsuryo system. Records show that there may have been 3 different locations of Ritsuryo laws from this era. A surviving copy of this 22-volume compilation of administrative code has yet to be found. We only know of its existence from references in other documents. The Omi Code was later updated in 689 to the Asuka Kiyomihara Code, also 22 volumes in length. However, like the Omi Code, this code has also not survived outside of references found in other texts. But we do know that these 2 codes were compiled and were written. Hopefully, one day these texts will be rediscovered for a new generation of scholars and historians. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. And do not forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos just like this every day of the week. And if you're looking for something else to watch right now, why not check out my other channel? It's called Today I Found Out. You'll find a link to that on the screen now. And as always, thank you for watching.